So first and foremost, with Lisk, it started with an ICO. There was an ICO to fund a dream. There were a number of people who thought it would be a good idea to create a decentralized application platform. So they put their funds together and they found their leaders, Max and Oliver. Max, who was a renowned escrow in the decentralized ecosystem, and Oliver, who is a full stack developer. They took the reins, and ever since they've led us towards victory, and we're really proud to have them as the leaders of the project. So about the Lisk platform itself. First and foremost, Lisk is a decentralized blockchain application platform. And its main goal is to prevent developers from having to reinvent the wheel who want to get into blockchain development. So hopefully, in a perfect world at the end, we'll be able to point, click, and have a blockchain, and then we can just sort of implement our JavaScript code into it. So Lisk has a number of advantages. Some of these are advantages of the blockchain itself, but I'll talk about them specifically in terms of Lisk. So for Lisk, there's a number of scalability considerations that have been made in the development of the protocol itself. First and foremost, it's using delegated proof of stake. This is a newer consensus algorithm that seeks to reduce the amount of latency in between the people who are communicating in the network. And the way to do that is to limit the amount, but you have to still find a way to do that fairly. So with Lisk, they've used the economy of votes, in other words, the shareholders, to decide who that limited set are. And as a result of that, Lisk has 10-second block times. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Bitcoin's block time, but it's 10 minutes. So, and that was originally designed so that basically because Satoshi knew that in order for an entire world to communicate collectively in a participatory fashion on one ledger, it was simply going to take time for all of them to come to agreement. And so he measured that to be about 10 minutes. Well, we've made quite a bit of progress with this to be at 10 seconds. And also flexibility. Flexibility with Lisk means the technologies they've chosen, JavaScript, Node.js, and also the design. They've built out in a very modular fashion so that individual components can be worked on without really convoluting any of the other components. And there's a special thing with Lisk, with adoptability. And it goes back to the delegated proof of stake. The name delegate, the person who is generating the blocks for the network, that word literally means to sort of provide or to delegate tasks or, for example, the money that they're receiving to projects in the ecosystem. And so there is that expectation. And the voters demand it, as a matter of fact. So if you're not contributing or making strides in the ecosystem, then you're probably not going to get rewarded. But if you do, then there's quite a lot of rewards to gain. So this is sort of bringing in the grassroots infusion of people who aren't involved necessarily with the development studio at large, but they have plenty of contributions they can still offer. And so Lisk ecosystem is very well fleshed out for where we're at, especially the community. And lastly here, security. There's a number of benefits to obviously just to the blockchain in and of itself, but when it comes to Lisk, one of the most important things to remember is the integrity of the chain itself. And we've seen in a number of other blockchain projects like Ethereum and others where basically some factor of it threatens the entire, it's an existential threat, one contract that threatens to destroy the entire ecosystem. And so with Lisk, the expectation that these apps were making this more complex code that we're putting on the blockchain that ultimately can have more issues is more constrained or is in its own environment. So it's a more secure approach there. And so Lisk is also using sidechains to really modularize like any sort of applications or contracts into their own environment, so that way they can never cause consequences to any other ones. There's no reason why my application should be getting congestion from another application on the same chain. they should in fact be in their own environment. So if one's having an issue, the other will run freely. And so here's the definition of a sidechain. It's a blockchain separate from its parent chain using a two-way peg. It offers structural security and interoperability within the other chains and brings full functionality within the ecosystem. So basically, Lisk can have all of these different side chains connected to it that offer different functionality, and they can interact with each other because they're all connected to the mothership Lisk. And that will be the token that they can go through. So maybe one token here and one token there. Once maybe they want to interact with this app, well, they can do that by going back into Lisk and then going into the next sidechain. Let's see what we have here. So this is a actual illustration of what I was describing there a bit. As you can see, this would be similar to a traditional smart contract platform. The blockchain is going along, and there's good smart contract A, but then down here is bad smart contract B. Well, as you all know, I've told you that, this is going to be a problem for the good smart contract. So a better approach would be to give each smart contract or app its own little environment. And so that's what we've done here with the sidechains. So let's take a look at the products that are currently being developed. There's a number of excellent projects. So all of them kind of go back to the Lisk core, which is the protocol itself. This is nuts and bolts. This is what we're waiting for right now, the 1.0 version of Lisk core. This is a monumental step that is really less appreciated than it should be, because the true innovation behind these cryptocurrencies is the fact that they've managed to do what they do while being decentralized. And so Lisk is pioneering 10-second block times, transaction rates of over 1,000 a second, and a number of things that become possible with this lower latency system that delegated proof of stake is. So here's the products here too, is the Hub, which is the wallet and the Explorer combined into one. It's a really beautiful project, and I think I have some pictures to show you here in just a second. Commander is a command line interface that allows you to interact with the JavaScript elements of Lisk in an easy way. There's a lot of community projects going on, and of course, we are also working to get on exchanges. And beyond that, we have Lisk Elements. So basically, Lisk Elements is a way for a JavaScript library to interact with the Lisk blockchain. We saw Commander. So let's see the new hub. So this is a picture of the new Lisk hub. It's a really beautiful wallet, and it has the Explorer built in. It has a really easy to use interface. The old Lisk Nano was quite difficult, rest in peace. But yeah, we're moving on to Lisk Hub. And so there's a lot to come for Lisk. In the very short term, like I said, we have the 1.0 milestone that's coming out, and I think that that's highly underestimated in terms of its achievement in the decentralized space. But with Lisk, there's more to dream about. It's not just that. It's not just the boring stuff, right? So first and foremost, you're going to be able to generate your own white label sidechain. So that means you can launch a token based on an asset you'd like to create, or it to be fuel for a utility token for some sort of network or anything. But the fact of the matter is, you can go to the phase securely to sell your idea and your token and see if it's marketable. And so there'll be a number of ways to customize your sidechains, and I'm not going to get into that too much because their presentations tell us a good amount about the different ideas of how to customize sidechains. So I'm going to leave that for them. Now, basically though, the next step is to take that token, that sidechain, mash it together with the application code, and host it on the network with a set of its own delegates. The consensus that will be behind these sidechains will be the same mechanism that Lisk itself is using. So it has the same expectation of security. And it's an interesting way to start a currency, because if you start, for example, a proof of work currency at this moment in time, you have to merge mine with Bitcoin, or you're under constant threat of there being enough hardware out there to 51% attack your blockchain. So there's some serious concerns out there. And not only will you be able to match your code with this token, but also there's going to be an environment to test and deploy. So a virtual machine, so to speak, that is specifically for testing Lisk apps. And so this is a little look at some of the Lisk ecosystem all kind of combined together here. You'll obviously be able to register your decentralized application and your custom token. That will need a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange, somewhere to transact these tokens, which, by the way, will be outside of the realm of regulatory scrutiny. And multi-token support. I'm not entirely sure what they mean by that, actually. And then there'll be the ICO suite, where you'll be able to basically pitch and sell your ICO and have your token available for people to come buy on the decentralized platform. So again, skirting regulatory frameworks there. And last but not least, the sidechain management, which I'm assuming that after we reach the testing phase and all these things, we're going to need a few more tools to really enhance the sidechains. So that's pretty much Lisk overview.